It's been a few weeks now since you went on to my audio production for Hypnotherapist Basics, and hopefully you've been spending some of your time working with Audacity and starting to produce some recordings and editing them, making them sound good. And I thought as you were going through that, it might be an idea to discuss some of the options that you can have to make your voice sound a little bit better within Audacity. Now, as we pointed out on the course, you don't really want to be making any large-scale changes to your voice. The reality is that your clients are buying you, and therefore you don't really want to be making too many changes to the natural sound of your voice. But there are a few things that you can do to improve the overall sound of your voice, and that's what we're going to cover in this short video. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import an audio file, and this is an extract of an audio file. If you remember, I mentioned that I'd done some get to sleep stories for kids, and this is an extract from one of them about a little kitten called Phoebe. So I'm just going to put that into Audacity, and there we go. Now the first thing that we could look at is getting rid of some of the background noise on the track. This could be background hiss from something electrical or some general background noise. And that's the bit there right at the beginning. Let's just play that. And just hear a faint hiss there before the actual words start. So we'll highlight that, like that. And we'll go into effects and we'll go into noise reduction. And noise reduction comes in two parts. The first thing to do is to get the profile of the noise, and that's what we've got to do in that highlighted bit up there. We're just going to get the noise profile. That's great. Go back into effects, go into noise reduction, and this time just press OK and actually reduce the noise. Leave those settings as standard. You can play around with them if you want, but basically the standard one tends to work okay for most things. So there we go. And as you can see, the noise has gone. Let's just quickly play that. Silence. All except for the little click there. So let's just highlight that little click there. There we go. And press cut. And we've got rid of that. So we've got rid of all that front ending noise. And we're just going to go straight into
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings.
Now the next thing we might want to do, and we probably want to do this throughout any changes we're making, is just to normalize it, and it just takes the tops and bottoms off the sound. Again, leave the standard parameter settings and they'll be okay. There we go. And
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten.
Now the next thing that we might want to consider is whether our recording is treble heavy or bass heavy, or whether we want to enhance a little bit of both. Normally my voice comes across, although it's not very deep, the bass notes are quite deep, so I quite often actually have to amplify the treble notes a little bit. So we go into equalization and we're going to say treble boost. There we go. Okay, and we've just applied that, and let's have a quick normalize again. There we go. Just take some of those peaks off, and we'll get rid of the worst of those later.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
So I've just boosted the treble there, and what I'm also going to do is equalization, and I'm also going to cut the bass a little bit.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
Actually, that's far too much, as you can see, so we'll just quickly undo that equalization. So we could go in there and go into equalization and just actually play around with how much we wanted to reduce the bass there. But I'm going to leave that for the time being. Again, if your voice sounds a little too high and squeaky, you might want to go for a treble cut, or you might want to go for a bass boost, or indeed you might want to go for both of them. Let me just go for bass boost here. So I've boosted the bass and I've boosted the treble. And as you can see here, those red lines are showing that some of the sound is now clipping out, and that will not sound very pleasant. So we're just going to normalize again, and normalize will sort that problem out for us. So bass and treble
Phoebe
boost now.
Was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
I'm going to turn the speaker output down a little bit because it's actually my speakers are overloading a little bit here. That's not the recording, that's actually the speakers. Let me just do that.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings.
That's nothing to do with the actual recording, that's just simply my speakers on this particular computer are not particularly good and they were overloading. So the next thing that we might want to add is a tiny bit of echo. So let's go into echo and let me leave that there just to show you how it shouldn't sound on a voice recording. So
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings.
That's far too much. So we're going to undo that echo effect and we're going to reapply it. And I think that you probably want as a maximum 0.1, 0.15 or something like that. Just gives you a little bit of echoey warmth without it actually sounding too much like you're in an echo chamber
Phoebe
or the bathroom.
Was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
Okay. Now, just a couple of other ones very quickly that we could do. We might want to add a bit of reverb, slightly different to echo. It just makes it sound like you're speaking in a room that's not quite dead. Again, I wouldn't up that too much, 1 or 2%, and I would just 1 or 2%, 0 milliseconds, reverb perhaps about 25%. Play around with these, but again, just keep them fairly low, like that.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
In actual fact, I think that's probably a little too much. I'll take that off, but you get the general idea. The other thing that you might want to do is sliding scale, pitch shifting, which is where you might want to slow things down a bit. Again, you don't really want to be slowing this down too much or speeding it up too much because it starts to sound a little funny. I'm going to slow everything down by about 5%. This takes a little time, so before you do this, be prepared to go and make yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something like that. That's great. Okay, super.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
We'll leave that in. And then the other option on that particular one is that you can also change the pitch as well. Again, don't change this very much. Minus means that you're lowering it a semitone. Plus means that you're raising a semitone. So -2 would be a whole tone lowered. +2 would be a whole tone raised. Again, very small amounts. I'm just going to make that one semitone lower just to show you what it does. Remember, all these effects I'm adding are cumulative effects. They are cumulative effects. So, let's just play that again.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
I think that's the most you can add. I don't like the sound of my voice like that, so I'm just going to undo that one. And let's normalize again. Super. And then the last thing that we're going to do is go right down to the bottom, and there you can see limiter, and go for hard limit. Leave that about -7, -8, not too much more than that. And what that does is it cuts off the top and raises the bottom. It just levels everything out, just a little bit. Whereas normalize just takes off the tops. The idea of this is to give you a much more steady speaking voice. I always apply this at the last. Some people apply this right at the beginning. They're all right. It doesn't really matter. Just remember, all effects are cumulative, so you need to just be very careful. Maybe save the thing every time you apply an effect so that you can take it out later if you don't want. So here we go.
Phoebe was a small tabby kitten with white markings, and she just wanted to play.
I think probably I added a little too much echo there in the end, but we'll leave it at that. I hope you find that useful. As I said, don't add too many effects, don't apply too much of any one effect, just keep saving it so that you can take things away if you decide you don't like the effect, because they are cumulative. And I hope that helps to make your recordings and your voice sound even better. Thank you very much.